Send. The moment Zuri's thumb left the screen, she realized her mistake. The photo was already gone. Her in black lace lingerie, confident smile, curves on full display. She'd meant to send it to Sloan. Instead, she was staring at a name that made her blood run cold. Vale West Properties. Her building manager. No. Her hands shook as she tried to delete the message. Failed. Tried to unsend. Option unavailable. She dropped the phone like it had burned her, then snatched it back, heart hammering against her ribs. Maybe they wouldn't see it. Maybe it would get lost in spam. Maybe. Her phone buzzed. A reply. Already. Across the city, in a penthouse that overlooked the glittering sprawl of downtown Los Angeles, Kang Jiseok had just opened the most interesting message Vale West Properties had ever received. He leaned back in his leather chair, studying the image on his screen. The woman was beautiful, confident, and according to the metadata that populated instantly, she was apartment 14C, Zuri Kamau, 26, graphic designer, single. He smiled. His fingers moved across his phone screen. Miss Zuri Kamau, you sent this to me. Join me for dinner tomorrow. We can clarify. He attached a photo of his penthouse interior, $48 million of floor-to-ceiling windows and modern art, and pressed send. Zuri stared at the response, her entire body going numb. He knew her name, her full name. He knew exactly who she was. The photo he'd sent back showed a penthouse that looked like something from a movie. And that message, not angry, not offended, just intrigued. Commanding. Sleep didn't come that night. Zuri lay in bed staring at her ceiling, replaying the mistake over and over. At 6 a.m, she finally gave up and called Sloan. Her best friend answered on the third ring, voice thick with sleep. This better be an emergency, Z. I was having a dream about Idris Elba. I sent the lingerie photo to the wrong person. The words tumbled out in a rush. There was a pause. Then Sloan was suddenly wide awake. What? Who? When? Last night. To Vale West Properties. My building manager. Zuri pulled her knees to her chest. Sloan, he responded. He knows my full name. My apartment number. He wants me to have dinner with him. Forward me everything. Right now. Sloane's tone had shifted from sleepy to serious. Zuri heard rustling, the sound of a laptop opening. I'm looking this up. Zuri sent the screenshots and waited, chewing on her thumbnail. Minutes passed, like hours. Then Sloan said one word that made everything worse. Shit. What? What is it? Z. That penthouse in his photo? I found it. It's the Crown Tower penthouse. $48 million. And get this. It's owned by a shell corporation that's been linked to Korean organized crime families in LA. There are rumors all over the forums. Money laundering, protection rackets. People say, Vale West is a front. Zuri felt the room spin. I sent a sexy photo to a mobster. We don't know that for sure, Sloan said quickly, but her voice lacked conviction. Maybe he's just a regular rich guy who happens to own an expensive apartment. He knew everything about me instantly, Sloan. Everything. That's not normal. Okay. So here's what you do. Block the number. Don't respond. Pretend it never happened. He can't force you to do anything. Sloan paused. Can he? Zuri looked at the message again. Something about the tone wasn't threatening. It was almost playful, but that somehow made it more unsettling. I'm blocking him now. She did it as she spoke, watching the conversation disappear. There. Done. It's over. Good. Keep me updated if anything weird happens. And Z, maybe don't answer your door for a few days. They hung up. Zuri spent the next 3 days working from home, jumping at every sound in the hallway. But nothing happened. No messages, no calls. By Friday, she'd almost convinced herself it was over. She'd made a mistake. He'd made a weird joke, and they'd both moved on. Life could return to normal. She actually laughed at herself as she got ready for her morning coffee run. What had she been so afraid of? The knock came at 8 in the evening. 3 firm raps that echoed through her small apartment. Zuri froze, coffee mug halfway to her lips. She wasn't expecting anyone. Sloane was out of town. Her neighbors never visited. The knock came again, more insistent this time. She crept to the door and looked through the peephole. A man stood in the hallway, and he was enormous, 6.5 feet tall at least, shoulders that barely fit through door frames, wearing a black suit that probably cost more than her rent. His head was shaved, and even through the peephole she could see the edge of a tattoo creeping up his neck. "Miss Kamau." His voice was deep, accented, polite. "I can hear you breathing. Please open the door." Her hand moved to the lock before her brain caught up. "Don't open it," her mind screamed. But something in his tone wasn't aggressive. It was patient, almost bored, like he'd wait all night if necessary. She cracked the door open, keeping the chain lock engaged. "Who are you?" "My name is Rafe. I work for Mr. Kang. He sent me to escort you to dinner." The man's face was expressionless, like he was discussing the weather. "I blocked his number. I'm not interested." Zuri tried to close the door, but Rafe's hand caught it effortlessly, not forcing it, just holding it steady. "Miss Kamau, Mr. Kang is not accustomed to being declined. He asks that you join him this evening to discuss the misunderstanding from earlier this week." Rafe's eyes met hers through the gap. They were strangely kind for someone so intimidating. "He wishes only to talk. You have my word you will be returned safely." "And if I say no, then I will wait here until you say yes." Rafe shifted his weight slightly. "I should mention that Mr. Kang owns this building, and the 3 buildings adjacent to it. Declining his invitation would be considered quite rude." The threat was velvet-wrapped, but it was still a threat. Zuri's mind raced through options. Call the police? And say what? A man invited her to dinner and sent someone to pick her up? Run. To where? Her lease wasn't up for 6 months. She looked at Rafe's patient, unmovable face and realized she had no real choice at all. "Give me 15 minutes to change." "Of course. I will wait in the car downstairs. Black Mercedes. Please do not attempt to leave through another exit. There are men at each one." Rafe nodded politely and walked away, his footsteps silent despite his size. Zuri closed the door and leaned against it, heart pounding. She grabbed her phone to call Sloane, then hesitated. What could Sloane do? Call the police? That might make things worse. She pulled up her best friend's contact anyway and sent a quick text. "Going to dinner with building manager. If you don't hear from me by midnight, panic. I'll share my location." Then she opened her closet and stared at her clothes, wondering what exactly one wore to dinner with a potential crime boss. She settled on a simple black dress, professional but not frumpy, paired with the heels she saved for client meetings. As she fixed her makeup, her hands trembled. She looked at herself in the mirror, at the same spot where she'd taken that stupid photo, and wanted to scream. How had a moment of confidence turned into this? She grabbed her purse, checked that her phone was fully charged, and headed downstairs. The Mercedes was exactly where Rafe said it would be. He opened the back door for her, and she slid into leather seats so soft they felt like butter. The interior smelled like expensive cologne and new car. Rafe got in the driver's seat and pulled smoothly into traffic. They drove in silence for 20 minutes, heading toward downtown. Zuri watched the city lights blur past, trying to calm her racing thoughts. Finally, she couldn't take it anymore. "What's he like? Mr. Kang?" Rafe glanced at her in the rearview mirror. "Intense. Intelligent. Fair, if you're honest with him. He does not appreciate deception or disrespect." He paused. "He also has a sense of humor, though few people see it." "Is he dangerous?" "Miss Kamau, everyone is dangerous under the right circumstances. But Mr. Kang is a businessman first. He prefers negotiation to violence. Rafe's eyes met hers in the mirror again. Be yourself. Answer his questions truthfully. You'll be fine. They pulled up to a restaurant Zuri had walked past 100 times but never entered. The kind of place with no sign, just a discreet entrance and a host who knew every guest by name. Rafe opened her door and gestured toward the entrance. Third floor, private dining room. He's expecting you. Zuri walked inside on shaking legs, aware of Rafe following several steps behind. A hostess in an elegant kimono greeted her with a bow and led her to an elevator. They rode up in silence. When the doors opened, Zuri stepped into a hallway decorated with traditional Japanese art and modern lighting. The hostess slid open a door at the end, and Zuri's breath caught. The private dining room was beautiful. Low table, floor cushions. One wall was entirely glass, showing the city spread out below like a carpet of stars. And standing by the window, hands in his pockets, was the man who'd turned her life upside down with a single text message. Kang Jiseok turned as she entered, and Zuri's first thought was that he looked nothing like she'd imagined. She'd pictured someone older, rougher, scarred. Instead, he appeared to be in his early 30s, tall and lean, wearing a perfectly tailored charcoal suit. His black hair was styled back from a face that could have belonged to a model or an actor. Sharp jawline, high cheekbones, and eyes that seemed to see straight through her, dark and assessing and amused all at once. Miss Kamau. He smiled, and it transformed his entire face from intimidating to almost warm. Thank you for joining me. Please, sit. He gestured to the cushions arranged around the low table. I took the liberty of ordering several dishes. I hope you're not vegetarian. Zuri moved to the cushions, hyper-aware of every step, every breath. She sat down carefully, tucking her dress under her knees, and Jiseok settled across from her with practiced grace. Up close, she could see the details she'd missed from across the room. A thin scar above his left eyebrow. The expensive watch on his wrist. The way he moved with complete confidence, like someone who'd never had to question his place in any room. He poured tea for both of them, the motion smooth and unhurried. I imagine you have questions, he said, sliding her cup across the table. I'll answer what I can, and in return, I hope you'll satisfy my curiosity about how I came to receive that particular photograph. Zuri wrapped her hands around the warm cup. You know it was a mistake. I meant to send it to my best friend. I assumed as much. Jiseok leaned back slightly. Though, I confess, it was the most interesting message Vale West Properties has ever received. Usually it's complaints about parking or requests for maintenance. His eyes flickered with amusement. Your photo was a welcome change. Heat flooded Zuri's cheeks. I tried to delete it. I know. You also blocked my number. He took a sip of his tea. Most people would have simply apologized and moved on. Your avoidance suggested either fear or guilt. I wanted to know which. Fear, Zuri admitted. My friend looked you up. She found articles linking Vale West to organized crime. Then you sent your bodyguard to my apartment. She met his eyes directly. So yes, I'm terrified. But I'm here. So can we please just acknowledge this was an accident and I can go home? Jiseok studied her for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Then he did something she didn't expect. He laughed. It was a genuine sound, warm and surprised. You're honest. I appreciate that. He set his cup down. Yes, Miss Kamau. I am associated with certain business interests that operate outside conventional legal boundaries. Vale West is one of several legitimate fronts I manage. Your building is clean. Your neighbors are safe. But I would be lying if I said my other activities were all legal. The casual admission made her dizzy. Why are you telling me this? Because you asked. Because you deserve the truth. Jiseok's expression grew serious. And because I want you to understand something, I did not bring you here to threaten you or to leverage your mistake. I brought you here because that photo showed someone comfortable in her own skin, someone confident and beautiful, and I wanted to meet the woman behind it. He paused. I could have simply deleted it and forgotten about you, but I didn't want to. Zuri stared at him, trying to process his words. You're saying you brought me here because you're interested in me? Romantically? I'm saying I wanted to know more about you. Whether that becomes romantic depends on many factors. A server entered quietly, placing dishes on the table. Elaborate presentations of sushi, tempura, perfectly grilled fish. Jiseok waited until they were alone again. I understand this situation is unusual, frightening even. But I promise you, Zuri, you are safe with me. You can finish this dinner, and Rafe will take you home, and we never have to speak again if that's what you want. And if I say, that's what I want? Then I'll be disappointed, but I'll respect your decision. He picked up his chopsticks. Please eat. The food here is exceptional. They ate in silence for a few minutes. Despite everything, the food was incredible. Zuri found herself relaxing incrementally, though she kept her guard up. Jiseok didn't press her with questions or make her uncomfortable. He simply ate, occasionally commenting on the dishes, giving her space to process. Finally, she set down her chopsticks. Why do you do it? The illegal stuff? Family business, Jiseok said simply. My father built an empire in Korea, then expanded here. I was raised in it. By the time I was old enough to question whether it was right or wrong, I was already too deep to leave. He looked out the window. I've tried to make certain operations more ethical. Less violence, better treatment of people under our protection. But at the end of the day, I'm still part of a criminal organization. Do you want to leave? He turned back to her, something flickering in his eyes. No one's ever asked me that before. He was quiet for a moment. I don't know. It's all I've ever known. But sometimes I wonder what a different life might look like. Zuri felt an unexpected surge of empathy. This dangerous man, this crime boss, looked suddenly lonely. I'm a graphic designer, she said. I spend my days making logos and websites for small businesses. It's not glamorous, but it's honest work. And at the end of the day, I can sleep knowing I helped someone build something legitimate. That sounds peaceful. Jiseok smiled slightly. Tell me about your work. What do you love about it? They talked for 2 more hours. About her designs, her dreams of starting her own agency. About his legitimate business interests, the properties he managed, his appreciation for art and architecture. He asked about her family, and she told him about growing up in Oakland, her parents who worked 3 jobs between them to put her through design school. He spoke less about his own family, but she learned he had a younger sister studying medicine in Seoul, that his mother had died when he was 12, that his father was semi-retired but still influential. By the time Rafe appeared to drive her home, Zuri had almost forgotten she was having dinner with someone who could probably make her disappear if he wanted to. Almost. Jiseok walked her to the elevator, hands in his pockets. Thank you for coming tonight. I know it wasn't your choice initially, but I hope it wasn't entirely unpleasant. It wasn't, Zuri admitted. You're not what I expected. Neither are you. He pulled out his phone. I'd like to see you again. No pressure. No bodyguards showing up at your door. Just a normal date, if you're willing. Zuri hesitated. Every logical part of her brain screamed that this was insane. He was a criminal. He lived in a world of violence and corruption. Getting involved with him was asking for trouble. But there was something in his eyes, something genuine and vulnerable, that made her pause. Can I think about it? Of course. He handed her a card with a phone number written in elegant script. This is my personal number. Use it if you decide you want to talk. Or don't. The choice is entirely yours, Zuri. The ride home was quiet. Rafe dropped her at the entrance and Zuri rode the elevator up to her apartment in a daze. The moment her door closed behind her, she collapsed on her couch and called Sloane. Her best friend answered immediately. "Oh my God, are you okay? I've been losing my mind." "I'm fine. More than fine, actually. Sloane, I just had dinner with him." "And? Is he terrifying? Did he threaten you?" "He's complicated." Zuri stared at the card in her hand. He admitted to being involved in organized crime, but he was also charming and intelligent and kind of lonely, and I think he actually likes me. Z, no. Absolutely not. Do not catch feelings for a mobster. I'm not catching feelings. I'm just saying he's not a monster. He gave me his number and said I could call him if I wanted to, but no pressure. You're not actually considering it, are you? Zuri looked at the number again. I don't know. Maybe. This is how horror movies start. Beautiful girl gets involved with dangerous man, everything seems fine. Then she ends up dead in a warehouse somewhere. He's not going to kill me, Sloane. How do you know? Because if he wanted to hurt me, he could have done it already. He owns my building, remember? He has access to everything. Zuri stood and walked to her window. I'm not saying I'm going to date him. I'm just saying maybe one more conversation wouldn't hurt. Promise me you'll be careful. I promise. They hung up and Zuri got ready for bed, but sleep felt impossible. She kept replaying the dinner, the way Jiseok looked at her, the vulnerability in his voice, when he talked about wondering what a different life might be like. At 2 a.m, she picked up her phone and stared at his number. Before she could overthink it, she sent a text. Thank you for dinner. I had a better time than I expected to. His response came within seconds. I'm glad. I was hoping I didn't terrify you too badly. Only a little. Your bodyguard is scary. Rafe? He's harmless. Well, not harmless, but he wouldn't hurt you. That's reassuring in a very non-reassuring way. She could almost hear him laughing through the phone. They texted back and forth for an hour, the conversation flowing as easily as it had at dinner. He told her about a property deal that fell through, and she complained about a client who kept changing their mind about colors. It felt normal, comfortable, dangerous in an entirely different way than she'd expected. Over the next 3 weeks, they fell into a pattern. Jiseok would text her good morning. They'd exchange messages throughout the day. Twice he showed up at her favorite coffee shop somehow knowing her schedule, and they'd talk for hours over lattes. He never pushed for more, never made her feel pressured. And slowly, against all logic, Zuri found herself looking forward to seeing him. Their first real date was at a museum after hours. Jiseok had rented the entire space, and they walked through empty galleries, discussing art and life and everything in between. He kissed her for the first time in front of a painting of a sunset, his hands gentle on her face, and Zuri felt her last defenses crumble. She was falling for him. God help her, she was falling for a criminal. I shouldn't be doing this, she whispered against his lips. I know. He kissed her again. I shouldn't have pursued you, but I couldn't help myself. What happens now? Now we see where this goes. If you'll let me. She should have said no. Should have walked away while she still could. Instead, she kissed him back and whispered, Okay. The next month was the happiest Zuri had been in years. Jiseok was attentive, romantic, surprisingly tender. He sent flowers to her office. He remembered small details she mentioned in passing. He introduced her to Rafe properly, and she learned the intimidating bodyguard had a dry sense of humor and a weakness for terrible action movies. She met some of Jiseok's legitimate business associates, people who clearly respected and feared him in equal measure. But there were shadows too. Nights when he'd disappear for hours and come back tense, unwilling to talk about where he'd been. Phone calls he'd take in another room, speaking rapid Korean in a tone that made her skin prickle. Once, she saw bruises on his knuckles that he dismissed as a training accident. She wanted to ask more, to understand the full scope of his world, but part of her was afraid of the answers. The first threat came on a Tuesday. Zuri was leaving her office when she noticed a car following her. Black sedan, tinted windows. It stayed 3 cars back but turned every time she did. Her heart rate spiked. She called Jiseok immediately. "Someone's following me." "Where are you?" His voice sharpened instantly. "Heading toward the subway on 5th. Don't go underground, stay in public spaces. I'm sending Rafe now, he's 10 minutes away." The car followed her for 6 blocks before peeling off suddenly. By the time Rafe arrived, it was gone. But that night, Jiseok showed up at her apartment with a new phone and a serious expression. "I need you to listen carefully." Zuri sat on her couch, the new phone heavy in her hands, while Jiseok paced her small living room. She'd never seen him like this. Usually so controlled, so composed. Now tension radiated from him in waves. He stopped in front of her window, staring out at the city lights. "There are people who aren't happy about us. About you." "Who?" Her voice came out smaller than she intended. "Rival organizations. People who see you as a potential weakness they can exploit." He turned to face her. "I've made enemies, Zuri, powerful ones, and now that they know you matter to me, you've become a target." The weight of his words settled in her chest like lead. "What do I do?" "I can protect you. But you need to let me." Jiseok moved to sit beside her, taking her hands in his. "I want you to move into my penthouse. It's secure. There are guards, cameras, protocols. No one can get to you there." "You want me to move in with you?" They'd been together for barely 2 months. "Jiseok, that's crazy." I know it's fast, but I can't risk your safety." His grip tightened. "Please, Zuri, let me keep you safe." She should have refused. Should have called this whole thing off before it got worse. But looking into his eyes, seeing genuine fear there, fear for her, she found herself nodding. "Okay, but we need ground rules. I need my own space, my independence. I'm not going to be locked in a tower." "Agreed. You can come and go as you please, but Rafe or someone from my team accompanies you, and you carry that phone at all times. It has a direct line to me and to my security team." He pulled her close. "I know this isn't what you signed up for. If you want to walk away, I'll understand. I'll make sure you're protected regardless." "I'm not walking away." The words surprised her, but she meant them. "I'm in this, Jiseok. For better or worse." He kissed her forehead, and she felt him exhale with relief. Moving happened quickly. Within 3 days, her essential belongings were transferred to the Crown Tower penthouse. The place was even more impressive in person. 48th floor. Panoramic views of Los Angeles, furniture that cost more than her car. Staff who appeared and disappeared like ghosts. And security everywhere. Discreet but omnipresent. Sloane visited once and pulled Zuri aside. "Z, this is insane. You know that, right? You're living with a crime boss because someone threatened you. This is not a normal relationship." "I know it's not normal, Sloane, but I feel something for him. Something real." Zuri looked across the penthouse to where Jiseok was on a phone call, speaking in Korean. "He's not just some dangerous man. He's complicated and damaged and trying to protect me. He's dangerous because of who he is. The threat exists because you're dating him. You see that, right? You're in danger because of him. And now he's your protector. It's a messed up cycle." "I know, but I can't just turn off my feelings. And he's been nothing but good to me." Sloane shook her head. "I hope you know what you're doing. I really do." For a while, life in the penthouse felt surreal but stable. Zuri worked from home, taking client calls from Jiseok's office. He was often busy with meetings, but they'd have dinner together every night. talking about their days like a normal couple. He showed her parts of himself he kept hidden from the world, his love of old films, his terrible singing voice in the shower, the way he'd watch her work sometimes, a soft smile on his face, like he couldn't quite believe she was real. But the threats continued. More messages, a suspicious package intercepted by security. Once, someone tried to hack her email, but Jiseok's tech people caught it immediately. Each incident made him more protective, more paranoid. He increased security, limited her movements, and Zuri felt the walls closing in even as she fell deeper in love. The breaking point came after 3 months of living together. Zuri woke up one morning to find Jiseok already gone, unusual for him. Rafe appeared at her bedroom door. Mr. Kang had to handle a situation. He said to tell you he'll be back by evening. What kind of situation? Business, Miss Kamau. Nothing for you to worry about. But she did worry. All day her calls went to voicemail. Her texts were unanswered. When Jiseok finally came home at midnight, there was blood on his shirt cuff. Not a lot. Just a small stain he'd tried to hide. Zuri stood in the living room as he walked in, and her voice shook. What happened? Nothing. Just work. He moved past her toward the bedroom. Don't lie to me, Jiseok. She followed him. There's blood on your sleeve. What did you do? He stopped, shoulders tensing. Someone made a move against one of our operations. I dealt with it. Dealt with it how? Did you hurt someone? Yes. He turned to face her, and his eyes were hard. I hurt someone who was trying to hurt people under my protection. I did what I had to do. This is my world, Zuri. I told you that from the beginning. I know, but seeing it is different than knowing about it. Tears burned her eyes. I'm in love with you. I'm in love with a man who hurts people. His expression softened. I'm in love with you too. That's why I do this. To keep you safe. To keep everyone under my care safe. He reached for her, and she let him pull her close. I'm not a good man, Zuri. I've never claimed to be, but I'm trying to be better. For you. She cried against his chest, and he held her, and neither of them acknowledged that better might not be enough. The federal agents came a week later. Zuri was at a coffee shop near the penthouse, Rafe standing guard nearby, when 2 people in suits approached her table. They flashed badges. FBI, Special, Agents Morrison and Chen. Miss Kamau, we need to speak with you about Kang Jiseok. Her blood turned cold. I don't have anything to say to you. We're not asking for your cooperation right now. We're informing you that you're involved with a dangerous criminal under federal investigation. We have evidence of money laundering, racketeering, and violent crimes. When we take him down, anyone close to him goes down too. Then arrest him. Her hands shook around her coffee cup. If you have evidence, arrest him. It's not that simple. We need someone on the inside, someone he trusts. Agent Morrison leaned forward. We know he cares about you, Miss Kamau. Help us, and we'll make sure you don't face charges. I'm not wearing a wire or spying on him. Leave me alone. Think about it. We'll be in touch. They left business cards on the table and walked away. Rafe moved to her side immediately. Miss Kamau, are you all right? I need to go home, now. She told Jiseok everything the moment they were alone. He listened without interrupting, his face an unreadable mask. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. They'll come back. They'll pressure you, threaten you, maybe even arrest you to force my hand. What do we do? I need to move some operations, clean up loose ends. It'll take a few weeks. But Zuri, if this gets too dangerous, if they come for you, I need you to walk away. Tell them everything. Save yourself. I'm not betraying you. Then we need to be smarter. He pulled her into his arms. I won't let them take you from me. I promise. The paranoia intensified. Jiseok swept the penthouse for bugs daily, changed their phones weekly, limited their communication to in-person conversations. And then Carter showed up. Zuri's ex-boyfriend appeared at her favorite coffee shop like a ghost from her past. She hadn't seen him in over a year, not since their messy breakup. Zuri, wow, you look amazing. Carter, what are you doing here? She glanced at Rafe, who was already on alert. I heard you were dating someone new. Wanted to check in, make sure you're okay. I still care about you, Z. I'm fine, you should go. He handed her his number on a napkin. If you ever need anything, an old friend to talk to, I'm here. He left before she could respond. Something about the encounter felt wrong, but she couldn't put her finger on what. She told Jiseok that night, and he immediately put his people on investigating Carter. What they found made Zuri's stomach turn. Carter had federal connections. He was working with Agent Morrison. The coffee shop meeting was no accident. He's trying to get close to you again. Gain your trust. They're using your past relationship against us. Jiseok's voice was ice cold. I'll handle him. No. Zuri grabbed his arm. Don't hurt him, please. He's an idiot, but he's not worth you getting in more trouble. He's trying to put you in danger, Zuri. I know. But violence will only make things worse. Please, Jiseok. Promise me you won't hurt him. He agreed reluctantly, but the pressure kept building. Carter called her. The FBI showed up at her building. One of Jiseok's associates was arrested, and the news reported it as the beginning of a major takedown. Zuri felt like she was suffocating under the weight of it all. She couldn't sleep, could barely eat. And Jiseok was pulling away, spending more time on damage control, coming home late with that same haunted look in his eyes. The night they arrested her, she was alone in the penthouse. Rafe had stepped out to meet with Jiseok. Agents Morrison and Chen appeared with a warrant, hauling her to a downtown federal building. They put her in an interrogation room and threw files on the table. Photos of Jiseok meeting with known criminals, financial records, transcripts of phone calls. You know what these are? Evidence. We have him, Miss Kamau. The only question is whether you go down with him. I want a lawyer. Of course you do. But lawyers take time. While we wait, let's talk about how you've been living in a penthouse bought with drug money. How you've been benefiting from criminal enterprise. Conspiracy charges could mean 10 years. Zuri's hands shook, but she kept her mouth shut. Lawyer. They kept her there for 6 hours. No phone call. No lawyer. Just relentless pressure. Accusations. Threats. She was exhausted and terrified when the door finally opened and a woman in an expensive suit walked in. Interview's over. My client has nothing to say to you. Agent Morrison stood. And you are? Catherine Park, Ms. Kamau's attorney. Provided by her partner, who you've been targeting in what I can only describe as a fishing expedition. She placed a briefcase on the table. You have no evidence linking my client to any criminal activity. You brought her here without charging her, held her without access to counsel, and attempted to coerce testimony. Release her now, or I'll have a federal judge here within the hour. Zuri was released 20 minutes later. Catherine walked her outside where Jiseok stood beside his car, Rafe looming behind him. The moment Zuri saw him, she broke. He caught her as her knees gave out, holding her as she sobbed against his chest. I've got you. You're safe. I'm so sorry, Zuri. I'm so sorry. They drove back to the penthouse in silence. Once inside, Jiseok poured her water and sat beside her on the couch. We can't stay here. They'll keep coming after you to get to me. I need to get you somewhere safe. Where? I have a property in Hawaii, off the grid. Secure. We can go there until things calm down, until I can figure out how to protect you properly. He took her hands. I know. This is my fault. Everything that's happened to you is because of me. If you want to leave, if you want your life back, I understand. I'll set you up somewhere safe. Make sure they can't touch you, and I'll walk away." Zuri looked at him, at this man who'd turned her world upside down with a single text message. This criminal who'd shown her more genuine care than anyone else ever had. This dangerous person she'd somehow fallen completely in love with. "I'm not leaving you. We face this together." Relief and pain warred on his face. "You deserve better than this life, Zuri." "Maybe, but I choose you anyway." She kissed him. "Take me to Hawaii. We'll figure out the rest from there." They left that night. Private plane. No passenger manifest. Rafe and 2 other guards accompanied them. The Hawaii property was a compound on the north shore of Kauai, hidden behind walls and gates and tropical vegetation. It was beautiful and isolated and felt like the edge of the world. For the first week, Zuri just slept, exhausted from the stress and fear. Jiseok was there when she woke up, always close, always watching over her. Slowly, life took on a new rhythm. Mornings on the beach. Afternoons where Zuri started photography, capturing the island's beauty. Evenings cooking dinner together, Jiseok surprisingly competent in the kitchen. They talked about everything and nothing. He taught her Korean phrases. She taught him to appreciate hip-hop. Rafe discovered a love for surfing. It was peaceful in a way neither of them had experienced before. One night, 3 months into their Hawaiian exile, they lay on the beach watching stars. Zuri rested her head on Jiseok's chest, listening to his heartbeat. "Do you ever think about leaving it all behind? The business? The crime family? Everything?" He was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. "Every day since I met you, I think about what it would be like to just be a normal person, to run a legitimate business, to not worry about federal investigations or rival organizations, to give you the life you deserve. Could you actually do it? Walk away? It would be complicated, dangerous even. But for you?" He turned to look at her. "I'd try. I'd find a way." "What would you do? If you left?" "I've always been good with property development, with architecture. I could do that legitimately. Build something real." He smiled slightly. "Maybe I'd even be happy." "I think you would be." Zuri sat up. "I think we both would be." Over the next few months, Jiseok began the careful process of extracting himself from his family's organization. It wasn't simple or clean. There were negotiations, payoffs, territories redistributed. His father was furious, but eventually accepted his son's decision when Jiseok made it clear this wasn't negotiable. The federal case against him stalled without new evidence, and eventually, the investigation shifted focus to other targets. Catherine worked magic with lawyers and settlements, cleaning up loose ends. Zuri started a photography business, selling prints of the island online. It was small, but it was hers, and it was growing. She loved the work, loved creating something beautiful from nothing. Jiseok invested in a legitimate real estate development company, buying and renovating properties in Honolulu. He was good at it, brilliant even, and without the weight of his criminal activities, he seemed lighter somehow, happier. They'd been in Hawaii for 8 months when Jiseok took her back to their beach one evening. The sun was setting, painting the sky in oranges and pinks. He led her to a spot where he'd set up candles and flowers. Zuri's breath caught. "Jiseok, what is this?" He turned to face her, and she saw tears in his eyes. "Zuri Kamau, you walked into my life by accident, a wrong number, a mistake, and you changed everything. You made me want to be better. You made me believe I could be better." He dropped to one knee, pulling out a ring that caught the dying light. "I know I don't deserve you. I know my past will always be complicated. But I love you more than I thought I could love anything. Will you marry me? Will you let me spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of you?" Zuri was crying before he finished. "Yes. God, yes." He slid the ring onto her finger and stood, kissing her as the sun disappeared below the horizon. They held each other as stars appeared overhead, and Zuri thought about how insane this all was. How a single photo sent to the wrong number had led to this moment. How the most dangerous decision she'd ever made had somehow become the best one. They married 3 months later in a small ceremony on the beach. Sloane flew out to be her maid of honor, still skeptical but happy to see Zuri glowing. Rafe stood as Jiseok's best man, surprisingly emotional during his toast. A few legitimate business associates attended, along with Jiseok's sister from Seoul, who hugged Zuri and whispered, "Thank you for saving my brother," in accented English. A year after the wedding, they moved to Seattle. Jiseok's development company had expanded to the Pacific Northwest, and they wanted a fresh start somewhere that didn't have memories of federal investigations or threats. They bought a house on Capitol Hill with views of the Sound. Zuri opened a small studio, teaching photography workshops and taking commissions. Her work was featured in local galleries. Jiseok's business thrived, building affordable housing alongside luxury developments, using his wealth to actually help communities. They had dinner with Sloane and her girlfriend once a month, normal couple things like arguing about restaurants and movie choices. Rafe moved to Seattle with them, transitioning from bodyguard to business partner, overseeing security for Jiseok's properties. The threats didn't completely disappear. There were still occasional reminders of Jiseok's past, whispers and warnings, but they faced them together, always together. 2 years after leaving Los Angeles, Zuri stood in her studio preparing for her first major gallery show. Photos from Hawaii, from Seattle, from their life together. Jiseok walked in with coffee and kissed her temple. Nervous? Terrified. What if no one comes? What if they hate it? They'll love it. You're brilliant, Zuri, you always have been. He looked at the photos on the walls. Do you ever regret it? That night you sent the wrong message? Everything that happened after? Zuri thought about it seriously. The fear, the threats, the federal interrogation, running to Hawaii. All of it could have been avoided with one careful check of her contacts. But then she looked at Jiseok, at the man he'd become, at the life they'd built together. Not for a second. You? Best wrong number I ever received. He pulled her close. Thank you for taking a chance on me, for seeing who I could be instead of just who I was. Thank you for protecting me, for changing your life, for choosing me over everything else. She kissed him. We did good, didn't we? We did great. He smiled, and it was that same smile from their first dinner, warm and genuine and full of possibility. Ready for your gallery show? With you here, I'm ready for anything. The show was a success. People came, bought prints, asked about commissions. Sloane posted photos online that went viral. A local magazine wanted to interview Zuri about her journey from graphic design to photography. Jiseok stood in the corner of the gallery, watching his wife shine, and felt something he'd never experienced in his old life. Pure, uncomplicated happiness. That night, they walked home through Seattle streets, hand in hand. Zuri looked up at the stars barely visible through the city lights. Do you think about your old life much? Sometimes, but not with longing. More like remembering someone else's story. Jiseok squeezed her hand. This is my real life. You. Us. Building something that matters. Everything before was just waiting for you to send that photo to the wrong number. Zuri laughed. So romantic. Our love story started with a sexy photo meant for my best friend. Hey, it worked out. We're married, happy, and no one's trying to arrest either of us. I call that a win. They stopped in front of their house, looking at the warm lights glowing through the windows. Their home, their life, their second chance. Zuri turned to face Jiseok. I love you. Every version of you. The dangerous one who scared me at first. the romantic one who rented out museums, the man who chose to change everything for us. All of you. I love you too. Thank you for giving a crime boss a reason to go legitimate. He kissed her forehead. Best mistake either of us ever made. Best mistake ever, Zuri agreed. They went inside, closing the door on the past and stepping fully into their future. A future that started with one accidental photo, one wrong number, and two people brave enough to choose love over fear, change over comfort, and each other over everything else. If you enjoyed Zuri and Jiseok's story, please hit that like button and subscribe for more intense romance stories. Drop a comment below telling me what you thought about their journey from a wrong number to forever. Should I do more stories about unlikely couples finding love? Let me know what you want to see next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.